The purple and gold faithful are about to witness 5 earth-shattering revelations that could completely reshape this franchise's destiny before Week 1. A legendary receiver trade that's hitting massive roadblocks and leaving fans divided. The superstar wide out everyone's been waiting to see might vanish from the final preseason spotlight. Desperate front office moves are exploding behind closed doors as panic sets in for offensive weapons. A shocking defensive trade just rocked the locker room and cleared cap space for something huge. And a quarterback controversy that nobody saw coming might be brewing in the shadows of US Bank Stadium. Each of these bombshells carries the power to redefine everything you thought you knew about this Viking season. And if you're ready to ride this emotional roller coaster with me, then buckle up, because the first revelation is about to detonate right inside the heart of Viking Nation. And trust me when I tell you that nothing will ever be the same after what I'm about to reveal. But before we dive headfirst into this chaos, if you bleed purple and gold deeper than you hate the Packers, smash that like button right now and let the entire NFL world know that Viking Nation stands united, because what's coming next is going to test every ounce of faith you have in this franchise. The whispers started quietly in the front office, but now they're roaring through every corridor of Winter Park like a Minnesota blizzard that won't quit. There's a wide receiver situation that's got Kevin O'Connell pacing the sidelines and general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah working phones until midnight, and the name on everyone's lips should make every Viking fan's heart skip a beat, because we're talking about the possibility of bringing home a beloved son of Minnesota. But hold on tight, because what seemed like a fairy tale reunion is turning into an absolute nightmare. And the latest reports are casting serious doubt on whether Adam Thielen will ever wear purple and gold again. ESPN's Diana Rossini just dropped a truth bomb that's got Viking Nation reeling, stating that there's nothing serious to these Adam Thielen trade talks. And suddenly the dream of reuniting with our former 2-time Pro Bowl legend is crumbling faster than the Packers' playoff hopes. Think about this for a second. Here's a 35-year-old receiver who spent the best years of his career right here in Minnesota, catching passes from Kirk Cousins and lighting up opposing defenses with 534 receptions for 6,682 yards and 55 touchdowns during his Vikings tenure, and now he's stuck in Carolina purgatory while we're desperately searching for offensive weapons. The Panthers are sitting there with Thielen on their roster, knowing full well they've got promising young receivers like rookie Tedero McMillan and second-year talent Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker, who could benefit from increased playing time. Which means Carolina would probably be willing to deal Thielen for the right price. But here's where it gets frustrating. Minnesota won't give up a day 2 draft pick for a 35-year-old receiver in the last year of his contract. And that stubborn stance might be the exact reason why this reunion never happens. Can you imagine the emotional impact of watching Adam Thielen return to US Bank Stadium wearing purple and gold, catching touchdown passes in front of 66,000 screaming Vikings fans who remember every spectacular catch, every clutch third down conversion, every moment he proved that an undrafted kid from Detroit Lakes could become a Minnesota legend? But instead of that storybook ending, we're getting reports that suggest this trade is dead in the water, and it's leaving Viking Nation wondering if Kevin O'Connell and the front office are making a massive mistake by not bringing home one of the most beloved receivers in franchise history. Are you frustrated that we might be letting pride and draft compensation get in the way of adding a proven veteran who knows this system inside and out? Do you think Adam Thielen still has enough left in the tank to make a significant impact on this Vikings offense? And most importantly, are you willing to trust that our coaching staff and front office know what they're doing, even when it breaks our hearts as fans? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because Viking Nation deserves to have their voices heard on this emotional roller coaster. But hold on tight, because as disappointing as that Thielen news might be, the next revelation cuts even deeper into the soul of this franchise. And just when fans thought the emotional turbulence couldn't get any more intense, here comes the next bombshell that's got every Viking supporter holding their breath and praying to the football gods. We're talking about the crown jewel of this entire organization, the player who single-handedly transformed this franchise from offensive mediocrity into a legitimate championship contender. And right now, there's a cloud of uncertainty hanging over whether we'll even get a glimpse of greatness before the real season begins. Justin Jefferson returned to practice on Wednesday after being sidelined for over 3 weeks with a mild hamstring strain that he suffered just days into training camp. And while his Week 1 status against those despicable Chicago Bears was never really in question, the anticipation of seeing him back on the field has been driving Viking Nation absolutely insane. This is a 4-time Pro Bowler who had 103 receptions for 1,533 yards and 10 touchdowns last season, proving once again that he's not just the best receiver in the NFC North, but arguably the most dominant pass catcher in the entire NFL. And watching him miss most of the preseason has been like watching Michelangelo keep his masterpiece covered with a sheet. Head coach Kevin O'Connell has been praising Jefferson's dedication to recovery, saying he's done such a good job with building his strength and doing the work with the medical team and the strength team that I think he feels like he's pretty darn close and ready to go. But here's where Viking Nation's hearts are getting crushed. NFL insider Kevin Seifert just revealed that Friday night's preseason finale against the Tennessee Titans will likely feature almost all or entirely second or third team players, which means we probably won't see Jefferson take a single snap. Can you feel the frustration building in your chest right now? After 3 weeks of wondering when we get to witness Jefferson's magic again, after dreaming about seeing him connect with rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy for the first time in a meaningful situation, we are being told that the coaching staff is going to play it safe and keep our superstars wrapped in bubble wrap until the season opener. The Viking starters had an intense scrimmage-like practice on Thursday with tons of reps, which strongly suggests that Kevin O'Connell believes his first-team offense is ready for Chicago without needing any preseason fine-tuning. But that leaves Viking Nation in the agonizing position of having to wait until Monday Night Football to see Jefferson and McCarthy develop the chemistry that could define this entire season. Think about the implications of this decision. Jefferson and McCarthy haven't had many meaningful reps together over the past month, and their first real test is going to come under the bright lights of primetime television against a Bears defense that's going to be fired up and ready to make a statement. Are you confident that Kevin O'Connell is making the right call by protecting his stars? Or do you think Jefferson and McCarthy need every possible rep together before facing Chicago? Do you believe that Jefferson's hamstring is truly 100% healthy? Or is there a part of you that's worried about lingering issues? And how excited are you to finally see what this Jefferson-McCarthy connection looks like when the games actually matter? Let me know in the comments, because the anticipation is killing all of us. And Viking Nation needs to stay united through this emotional waiting game. But trust me, the night isn't over, because what comes next will flip the script in ways nobody predicted. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the kind of news that exposes just how desperate this Vikings front office has become. And it's a desperation that should have every single member of Viking Nation both terrified and hopeful at the same time. We're talking about a franchise-altering crisis that's brewing in the wide receiver room. A crisis so severe that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah are reportedly working around the clock to find solutions before Monday Night Football arrives and exposes our offensive weaknesses to the entire NFL world. The Minnesota Vikings are pressuring for a wide receiver trade before Week 1. And the urgency behind these moves should tell you everything you need to know about how concerned the coaching staff is about our current depth chart. On paper, this receiving core looks absolutely loaded. Justin Jefferson is a 4-time Pro Bowler coming off a 1,533-yard season. Jordan Addison is a former first-round pick from USC who had 875 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns in 2024, and the talent level should be enough to terrorize any secondary in the league. But here's where reality hits like a Mike Zimmer defensive blitz. Jefferson missed significant time this summer with that hamstring strain. Addison is suspended for the first 3 games of the season for violating the league's substance abuse policy. And even our number 3 receiver, Jalen Naylor, is dealing with a hand injury that has him listed as week to week. Can you see the panic spreading through Winter Park? Can you imagine Kevin O'Connell staring at his depth chart and realizing that if one more injury hits, we could be trotting out undrafted free agents and practice squad players against elite NFL defenses. According to Adam Schefter of ESPN, the Vikings have been asking about trades for multiple veteran receivers, and the sense of urgency is so intense that they're willing to sacrifice draft compensation and salary cap flexibility just to avoid entering the season with a skeleton crew at the most important skill position. This is a Vikings team that believes they can make a legitimate playoff run with J.J. McCarthy under center. A team that went 14-3 with journeyman Sam Darnold leading the offense, and the idea of wasting that potential because we don't have enough healthy receivers is keeping everyone in the organization up at night. Starting the season on the right foot is absolutely essential for any team. But it's especially crucial for Minnesota in 2025 because we're beginning a new era with McCarthy under center, and we simply cannot afford to give him a skeleton crew of receivers in his first meaningful NFL action. If Naylor begins the year on the sidelines alongside Addison's suspension, the Vikings will be paper thin at receiver, with rookie third-round pick Ty Felton already expected to start in Addison's absence, and undrafted free agent Lucky Jackson potentially being thrust into a significant role that he's simply not ready for. Do you trust that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell will find the right veteran receiver to stabilize this situation? Are you worried that desperation might lead to an overpay for a player who isn't worth the investment? And how confident are you that J.J. McCarthy can succeed even with a depleted receiving core if these trades don't materialize? Sound off in the comments, because Viking Nation needs to rally together during this uncertain time. But brace yourself, because the story only gets darker from here. But listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal next is the kind of front office maneuvering that either proves our leadership is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, or it exposes a level of roster chaos that should have Viking Nation questioning everything. We're diving deep into a trade that seemingly came out of nowhere, a move that sacrificed immediate defensive depth for future flexibility, and it's a gamble that could either set us up for championship glory or leave us scrambling to fill massive holes in our lineup. The Minnesota Vikings traded starting nose tackle Harrison Phillips to the New York Jets. And this wasn't just any depth piece or expendable backup. We're talking about a 3-year starter who has been anchoring our defensive line and providing the kind of run-stopping presence that Kevin O'Connell's defensive scheme absolutely depends on. The trade came as a complete shock to Viking Nation because Phillips wasn't just a contributor, he was a foundational piece of our interior defensive line. The kind of player who doesn't show up on highlight reels but does all the dirty work that allows linebackers like Blake Cashman and Jonathan Greenard to make plays. But here's where the chess match begins. And NFL insider Tom Pelissero broke down the strategic reasoning behind this seemingly puzzling move. Why would a team like the Vikings trade away one of their starters? There's a couple of things. One, they really like the young players that they got at the position. Two, the Vikings are seriously exploring acquiring a veteran wide receiver sometime in the next several days. And suddenly this trade starts making perfect sense from a salary cap and roster construction perspective. Kevin O'Connell and the defensive coaching staff are betting big on their depth at defensive tackle, and they have legitimate reasons for that confidence. Minnesota signed veteran defensive tackles Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave in free agency, two proven NFL contributors who can immediately step into starting roles, while also developing high hopes for 5th-round rookie Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins and former undrafted free agents Jalen Redmond and Taki Taimani. This is the kind of calculated risk that separates championship organizations from mediocre franchises. The willingness to sacrifice proven depth in one area to address critical needs in another, but it's also the kind of move that could backfire spectacularly if those young defensive tackles aren't ready for primetime football. Think about what this trade represents in the bigger picture. Our front office is so convinced that we need additional offensive weapons that they're willing to weaken our defensive line depth. And that level of commitment to supporting J.J. McCarthy and this offense should tell you everything about their championship aspirations. The salary cap relief from trading Phillips gives Minnesota the financial flexibility to pursue that veteran wide receiver they've been targeting, which means this move is directly connected to solving our receiving corps crisis. But it also means we're counting on unproven players to hold down one of the most physically demanding positions in football. Are you impressed that our front office is making bold moves to address our offensive needs? Or are you concerned that we're creating new problems while trying to solve existing ones? Do you have faith in Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, and our young defensive tackles to fill the void left by Phillips? And do you think this trade will be remembered as a brilliant strategic move or a costly mistake when we're deep in the playoffs? Let your voice be heard in the comments, because these are the kinds of decisions that define franchises, and Viking Nation deserves to be part of the conversation. And listen, the next chapter is the kind of news that divides a fan base right down the middle. And if you think that was wild, the final story might just redefine everything you thought you knew about this Vikings quarterback group. Because we're about to dive into a potential backup plan that nobody saw coming, a move that could provide crucial insurance for JJ. McCarthy's development while adding veteran experience to a position group that desperately needs depth. The Cleveland Browns just named Joe Flacco as the starting quarterback, which immediately creates a domino effect throughout the NFL. And one of the most intriguing possibilities involves a quarterback who could be the perfect fit for Kevin O'Connell's offensive system. Kenny Pickett might be heading to the trade market after losing the starting job battle in Cleveland. And according to multiple reports, the Minnesota Vikings are being mentioned as a logical landing spot for the former Pittsburgh Steelers first-round pick who's looking to rebuild his NFL reputation. Now, before you roll your eyes and dismiss Pickett as just another failed first-round quarterback, let me paint a picture of why this move makes perfect sense for Minnesota's current situation. We're entering a season with JJ McCarthy as our franchise quarterback, but McCarthy has yet to take a single official NFL snap after missing his rookie year to injury, which means we need veteran depth behind him in case of emergency. Pickett has actually started NFL games for a competitive Pittsburgh team that expected to reach the playoffs every season, giving him the kind of meaningful experience that could be invaluable in Kevin O'Connell's quarterback room. And unlike some backup options, Pickett isn't afraid to risk his body to win football games, which is exactly the mentality you want from your backup quarterback. The article breaks down why Minnesota makes perfect sense as a destination. There's no better place for Pickett to rebuild what's left of his NFL reputation than with the Vikings. Why do you think Aaron Rodgers tried so hard this offseason to convince Minnesota to sign him? O'Connell is a quarterback whisperer, and we all know that. And that's not just empty analysis. Kevin O'Connell has a legitimate track record of developing quarterbacks and maximizing their potential within his offensive scheme. Think about what Pickett could bring to this quarterback room. He's got similar experience and trajectory as Sam Howell, who O'Connell seemed to believe in, but Pickett's experience came with a franchise that was consistently competitive and expected to win, whereas Howell played for Washington and Seattle without enough success to stick with either organization. The Browns will probably try to get whatever compensation they can for Pickett, since they have two promising rookies in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders who have shown potential in the preseason, which means Minnesota might be able to acquire a veteran backup without giving up significant draft capital. This could be the kind of low-risk, high-reward move that provides crucial insurance for McCarthy's development while giving Pickett a chance to learn from one of the NFL's most respected offensive minds. Pickett and Howell have similar levels of experience, but what differentiates Pickett is the context of that experience, playing for a competitive Pittsburgh team versus struggling with franchises that couldn't find ways to keep him. Do you think Kenny Pickett would be a smart addition to our quarterback room as insurance behind JJ McCarthy? Are you confident that Kevin O'Connell could help Pickett reach his potential as a backup quarterback? And how important is it for us to have veteran depth at the position given McCarthy's lack of NFL experience? Drop your thoughts below, because this could be the kind of under-the-radar move that ends up being crucial to our season. And if this week felt like an earthquake shaking the very foundations of Winter Park, what's coming next could be the aftershock that topples everything we thought we knew about this Viking season. These 5 revelations have exposed the delicate balance between championship aspirations and roster reality, between veteran experience and youthful potential, between calculated risks and desperate gambles that could define Kevin O'Connell's tenure as head coach. The Adam Thielen trade talks falling apart show us that sometimes nostalgia and smart business don't align, leaving Viking Nation heartbroken but potentially saving us from an expensive mistake. Justin Jefferson's preseason absence reminds us that even superstars are human. Even legends need time to heal. And sometimes patience is the most brutal test of faith that any fan base can endure. The desperate push for wide receiver help exposes just how thin our depth really is beneath the star power, how quickly championship dreams can turn into roster nightmares when injuries and suspensions collide at the worst possible moment. Harrison Phillips' trade to the Jets proves that our front office is willing to sacrifice defensive depth for offensive weapons. A gamble that shows both championship ambition and concerning roster management all at once. And Kenny Pickett's potential arrival reminds us that backup plans matter, that veteran insurance policies can be the difference between seasons remembered as magical runs versus cautionary tales of what might have been. But here's what every single member of Viking Nation needs to understand as we head toward Monday Night Football against Chicago. These moves, these risks, these calculated gambles are all building towards something that could be absolutely special. Kevin O'Connell isn't making these decisions in a vacuum. He's orchestrating a symphony of roster moves designed to maximize J.J. McCarthy's chances of success while building a supporting cast that can carry this franchise back to championship relevance. If you believe in the purple and gold more than you hate the Packers, if you trust that Scout Nation can weather any storm that comes our way, if you're ready to ride this emotional roller coaster all the way to Minneapolis glory, then smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let the entire NFL world know that Viking Nation never backs down from a fight. Comment below with your boldest prediction for this Viking season. Tell me which of these 5 stories shocked you the most, and let me know if you think we're building towards something special or setting ourselves up for heartbreak. Because if you thought this week was wild, just wait until the rivals make their counter move, just wait until J.J. McCarthy takes his first snap under center, just wait until Justin Jefferson reminds everyone why he's the most feared receiver in the league. The next 72 hours might be the most decisive in this franchise's recent history. And I'll be right here breaking down every twist, every turn, every heart-stopping moment that defines what it means to bleed purple and gold. Stay tuned, stay loyal, and never forget that in Viking Nation, we don't just survive the storms, we conquer them. Skol!